and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Irma and you can find me on YouTube, Ravelry and Instagram as Wolwerkjes. Welcome everybody to this place on the internet where I talk about all the things I make, mostly knitting, and I hope you will enjoy this episode. So just let's get started. I always start with what I'm wearing, and when there is any handmade item there, I'm wearing a few handmade items today. I don't think I've wore this one on the podcast yet. I think I did show the finished object. This is my core cardigan. It's a pattern by Natasha Hornby, and I did a few alterations. I made the sleeves short, and I think I knit it smaller than it's supposed to and a little shorter than it's supposed to. Let me see if I can stand back so you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, so it's a little bit shorter and the sleeves are short, and I think I could have made a size bigger maybe, but the reason for all those alterations is that it is hand spun yarn. I spun this Gotland. I made a 3-ply out of it, and I just didn't have any left. And I think when I finished the body part and I finished the collar pieces, there's also on the bottom, let me see, there's also, it's the same detail that's made with slip stitches. When I finished that, I started the sleeves and I divided the yarn I had left. It's a while ago, but I think I did it like this. I divided the yarn I had left into 2 balls, and that is how much I had left for each sleeve. So, and normally on the sleeve edge there also would be a the same slip stitch pattern, and I think the sleeves would normally go to here. I just didn't have the yarn. Maybe one day I will make it like it's supposed to be, but it's functioning fine. It is keeping me warm when it's a little bit chilly without having me compromising in my movement, because the sleeves are short, and when it's really cold I can always put a long sleeved shirt underneath or something like that. So I think that will be fine. The other thing I'm wearing is this belt. I find it really hard. It has a, let me see if I can show you. It has some flower motif on there, and yeah, it's really easy to make. You just buy the elastic and you buy the closure, and I have one laying around here I made, so I can try to show you. You can buy those closures and they're just snapping closed, so you cut your elastic to the right size and you put it in between. You close this part where there are like pins down there, so it keeps the elastic tight. And you do that on both sides, and then you have a belt. And I really like wearing waistbands like this, but they're not always easy to find, and not always is the size easy to find that I need. So I just thought I will just make some, and it was so easy. I think it takes under 5 minutes to make, so that's the thing. And the other thing is the jumpsuit I'm wearing. I can't show it completely. I have shown it before. It's out of a tricot fabric, so it's a knitted piece of fabric, like very fine knitted, and like a t-shirt is made out of sometimes. And it's very comfy and very nice, and I wear it a lot. So those are the things I'm wearing that are handmade, and let's continue to the things I have been working on. I did not record last week. Well, I did record, but I didn't post because sometimes that happens. I didn't have the time to edit and I just thought, well, I will do it the next time. So I have to think a little bit about the things that I have shown but you haven't seen, if that makes sense. So I have to think a little bit about the things I want to show. Let's start with the knitting. I have been working a lot on my flax light again. It has been in a bit of hibernation, but I took it out again and it's almost finished, you guys. Let's see. The body part was already done and one sleeve was already done. I only have to weave in the end over here, and I'm working on the second sleeve, and as you can see it's almost finished. I think I need like 40 rows and the bind off or something like that. I think even less. And I just want to wear it. It's so it's such a nice fabric. I know some of you may think this yarn is a little bit prickly, a little bit scratchy. I don't know if the camera takes it up, but you can see the fluff around it. It's a blend of wool and llama fiber, and llama fiber is quite coarse. It has good properties. It's hollow on the inside, the fiber itself, so it's good for isolation, but it's a little bit coarse. So there are some yarns. Let me see if I can take on this. There are sometimes really long hairs sticking out there, and it's a single yarn, so it's not plied, and it also gives coarse fibers a little bit more space to poke out. When it's plied, they stay kind of inside, and when it's a single, they can twist out a little. So I think some people may think it coarse, and it's quite close fitting around the neck, but I have tried it on already and I think it's no problem for me. If you are a little bit like easily irritated by wool or by coarser fibers, just don't knit it so high up your neck. I think when it's over other clothes, the fibers are not poking that much that I think they can't stick through your clothes underneath. So as a top layer, it's totally fine for everybody, I think. But I find it very soft in a way. Yeah, I really like the feeling of this fiber and I just can't wait to wear it. It's getting colder over here. Like I live in Holland and it's not like Scandinavian or Canada cold over here, but it's definitely getting colder, and we're near the coast. I think it's like 5 minutes. No, it's not 5 minutes. I think it's 10 minutes by bike. So we have a lot of cold coming over the sea as well. It's keeping this area a little bit warmer, but also like the wind is quite strong sometimes. So it's really nice to have warm jumpers, especially in the evening when the sun goes down. It's really nice to cozy up in a warm sweater. So I think I will finish this weekend so I can wear it, because it's only this much, you guys. Why it isn't finished is because I got distracted. So there are two things that slowed me down. One is simply a distraction, which I will talk about in a second. The other thing is that I made a mistake in the garter stitch panel on the top of the arm, which is a feature in the flax light which not everybody does, but I do really like it, so I included that garter stitch section. But because you're knitting in the round, it's one row you purl those stitches, one row you knit those stitches, and you alternate that. And I had done 2 purl rows after each other, and that's not really a big problem, but I noticed it when I was like 60 stitches, 60 rows up, like this much. So I was over here and I noticed the error over here, and first I was thinking, well, I just leave it in and I don't want to rip back that far, and oh my gosh. But then I tried it on and it was like directly over here, so I think that's quite a visible place. If it's lower on your wrist or like back on the shoulder, I don't think anybody would really see, and I don't think anybody would have seen it like over here, but I would have seen it all the time, and I didn't want to rip back all the thing, you guys. So what I did, I dropped the stitches of the garter panel and I dropped all the stitches down until the error row. I picked up the stitches underneath, which were in the correct, So I picked up those stitches underneath the arrow and I dropped the stitches over here, and I just dropped all those 20 stitches, like 65 rows or something. So I had all those threads over here. I bundled them by 10 and I made sure I took the right thread each time I started knitting. I took some dpns and I just re-knitted those 20 stitches, and it worked out fine. I think I don't even remember where the error was, and where I did this dropping of the stitches, it's not visible anymore, and even if it was visible, it wouldn't be after a wash or a block, so that's really nice. But the thing that distracted me a lot and I want to put a spoiler alert here, because I am joining the Westknits make along of the slipstravaganza shawl that is the mystery pattern this year. I finished clue 1, I finished clue 2, and I just started clue 3. So if you're past those or don't mind seeing those clues, you can watch. If you don't want to see this, I will put a timestamp underneath so you can skip forward to the part where I'm not talking about this. First, I will put, like, I will notify you when I will put the shawl into the screen, because I will first show you my colors and those things, and when I'm going to hold up the shawl itself, I will warn you again. So let's see, I have my main color, which is this really dark gray. It's not completely only gray, there is like a hint of green in there, but you can't really see it like, oh, that's a green gray. No, it's really light, but it makes it a little bit different than just the standard dark gray. And my 3 contrast colors are, one, this gold, and the second one is this pink. Oh, that's attached. Let me lift it. Is this pink, and the third color I am using as a contrast color is this minty green. It's really light. It's almost white, but not white, and you can see it's greenish. So those are the three contrast colors I'm using. So warning, I'm going to show the scarf now. So let's put this aside. One more time, warning. I'm going to show the slipstravaganza shawl over here. Clue 1, 2 and a little bit of part 3. Clue 3. So let's see. This is the first part that is knitted. It is all done with slip stitches, so there is no intarsia or no stranded color work or anything. It's only slip stitches, which means that you're only knitting one color at a time. And the shape you get, those honeycombs, he's calling them, are, you can see this is lying in front. I can put my finger behind here. Those are just knitted in stripes, but you're slipping those stitches and you're attaching them again in the main color row. So that's how you get this shape. And then he makes you pick up stitches along the triangular edge, and you're doing a really nice slip stitch pattern over here again. I think it looks a bit like cross stitches. See what I mean? And because it's textured, it's really squishy to feel, so that's, I really like that. And then over here, after that section, you start a again with the main color slipped. You're starting some graphics, like I think it's going to be diamonds in the end. So you're shifting the stitches you're slipping, so you get this triangular diamond shape in the end. I'm not even halfway through. He says that after the third clue you're halfway through, and like it's, I just started a row, so I can't stretch it out, but this is 1 meter of knitting cable and it's already bigger than my knitting cable, and yeah, it's going to be huge, I think. Good for me because I love huge scarves. So I won't put it up again. I really like knitting on it. It's the first time I am doing the westknits make along, the mystery make along. I have done one mystery, no, I'm lying. I've done 2 mystery projects long ago, and those were crocheted blankets. And I really like the element of surprise, that you're not knowing what the next step is going to be. And what I really like about knitting Stephen West patterns is that he always surprises you with how the stitches are picked up or which direction you're going to knit in, and everything is just like, I know some people don't like his designs, some people think they're too extreme or too different and they don't really know how to fit those items in their everyday clothing, but every detail is thought of. Like you're creating the slip stitched lines, and every line is connected to another line, and there's no place until now, but I think that's the way he works. There's no place in this shawl where you think, oh, that could have been neater, or oh, I don't know why he did that. Sometimes you think, why am I doing this? But once you've done it and once you just follow his rules and just do it, it always makes sense. So I really liked it, and I can't wait for the next clue. So that's the thing I have been working on. So I've been thinking about other things I have been working on, and I don't think there are any knitted projects that are worth showing at the moment. I do have a crochet thing I can show you, and some old-time viewers may remember this. I had this giant, it was supposed to be a blanket, but the width is like this and the length is like 10,000 meters long. So I can not really use this properly. I have been known to wear it as a scarf, shawl thing. I can wrap it 3 times around my neck, really wide, and then it still hits the floor. So not really practical. Nice, but not really practical. And it is not really useful as a blanket. That's what it was supposed to be, and it is not useful like that. I improvised this. I did a temperature blanket, so each color stands for I think 5 degrees Celsius, and I looked up the temperatures of each day of my first life, and I set each color to a certain area of temperature, and I just knit it in that order, which is really fun, and you let the color choices be controlled by something you can't adjust. So it gives you like a randomy effect, and I really like that. But I just cast on some stitches and started this zigzag pattern, not thinking about how wide one line of crochet is and how long the total thing would be. If I had made it wider, it wouldn't be less of a problem, because you can just sit underneath with 2 persons. But this is like a little too shallow to really cover you when you're on the couch or something. It's just fitting, and it's like twice the length of a normal human being. So I've done it around my neck and put both ends over my legs, but it's also like a nightmare to fold up again, and so I didn't use it. So I wanted to start another project with it, and what I first started doing is make knitted squares and attaching those while I'm knitting them. But it took me like 1 evening to finish 1 square. I didn't do the squares with the diagonal line because I already have like a cozy memories blanket like that, and I don't want to do the same thing twice. So I made squares that started in the center, and by increasing on all corners you get a square. It took me 1 day to finish 1 square, and I was thinking, well, if I do this every day in the evening, then it takes me a year to finish, because this is like a year of my first year of my life. So 365 stripes. So it would take me literally a year to finish if I did it every day. And I do like knitting a lot, but I like to switch things around. So I know I'm not going to make a square each day. And I want to work on other projects as well. So yeah, that was just not going to work. So I ripped those squares out and I started doing something else. And the thing I'm doing now is crocheting squares. So what I did, I made a little granny square. Let's come a little bit closer for you. I made a granny square, and when I was crocheting the second one, in the last row of the second square I attached it to the first, and so I made a row and then I attached a row on top and on top and on top. So this is going to be my blanket. As you can see, it is a little wider than it was, not like extremely wider, but I did calculate this time, and I know it's going to be 14 squares wide and 26 squares high, so that's a better proportion than the way I had it at first. So it will be much smaller than it was. I have leftovers. I'm planning to do something with the leftovers, but it's going to be usable in this form. So I'm very happy that I changed it up. I think I worked 2 evenings on this now, and I have already done 4 rows minus 1 square. So that's going a lot faster than the knitted squares. So I'm very happy that I changed that, and that it's something I will finish one day instead of an endless project that I'm never going to finish. So I did one other thing, and it's not, I haven't really started. It took time, but I didn't really start it yet. I bought this book secondhand. It's a book about bobbin lace. I have a bobbin lace pillow. I have 2. I have one big one, like a rounded one, and I have made one with a roll in it, so you can turn it and make a strip of lace that way. I have never been told. I did try to teach myself. I did bought a course somewhere printed so I can follow that. So I do know the different stitches and I do know the basics. But the point with lace is that you want more than the basics, right? You want flowers and geometric shapes and those kinds of things, and it's really hard to find information, you guys. You can find patterns, but it's really hard to find people explaining how to fill in the patterns, because just this, I'm going to put it far away because it is out of the book and it is paid for. So this is how a bobbin lace chart looks, and it doesn't tell you how all the different areas, which stitches used, and it makes a huge difference which stitch you use in how it's going to look and how stable your lace will be. So in this book they help you with that, and I will show you a picture of the thing I'm going to try to make. I want to make something like this one. I hope it's focusing. Like this one, with the flower in there, and I'm going to do it with a thicker yarn. Maybe I will enlarge the pattern a bit, because when your yarn is thicker you need a little bit more space to see the pattern. So I will start with that, and the outlining of the flower you do in a thicker yarn, and you can also use a contrasting color. And I was thinking that would be nice to actually see what I'm doing. So one of the things that took quite some of my time in the past few days, weeks, is winding the bobbins. So let's see, I have 3 different types of bobbins, because it's like I got some and I bought some and I improvised some. So I have like these bobbins, and with those have like some beads on the bottom, and I have like this really traditional, like really easy bobbins as well, just plain. And I had a shortage of bobbins because I only had like 20, and for this pattern I need 25 bobbins, so I also bought these. Those are the old-fashioned wooden clasps for your washing to dry. Yeah, you can wind yarn around it and use it as bobbins. You can also use like the traditional clasps, like the one with the iron spring in there, but I don't have them. So I either had to buy these or I had to buy the other, and in my experience the others kind of gets rusty and stuff, so I thought it was more safe. So I found 50 bobbins, and the winding is just by hand, just turning your bobbin and distributing the yarn around it. It's really a easy thing to do without thinking and stuff like that. Yeah, it's an easy thing to do, and it makes me happy that it's there, and when I want to start the project I just can. But this takes time, you guys, especially if you don't, because I want to make like a trim that I could potentially use. So I don't want to make like this much, I really want to make a big strip, and it's really annoying if you have to switch the threads once you're working. It can be done, but like I would rather not. So I had to wind quite some length of yarn on each bobbin, so that was a thing. But it's done, and I'm very, very curious in how it's going to work out and if it will be a disaster. The last thing I tried making in bobbin lace was by using a YouTube video, but the woman that I was watching was learning herself, so she failed to explain some things, which meant that once I took it off the cushion, took all the pins, I took it off the cushion, the edges were not stable, so it was not usable. And those little things, like bobbin lace takes a lot of time to make, and those little things can be really annoying when you're learning something new but it isn't explained right. And it's not like they have courses over here in the neighborhood where I can learn those things. So yeah, it was a little bit frustrating, but I won't make that mistake again. I know now that I need to stabilize my edges, and I will be better next time. I know some of you will love to see the disaster of that square that I made, but I threw it out. I don't have it anymore. So that's that. Let's see. I think that's everything I want to talk about, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.